Martin, I'm really glad you wanted to discuss improving your writing. It's something a lot of students struggle with, especially when transitioning to more advanced academic levels. How are you feeling about your writing right now?
To be honest, Professor, I'm feeling a bit stuck. I know my writing has gotten better over the past few semesters, but I'm still not where I want to be. My essays sometimes come back with comments about clarity, structure, or argument strength, and I find myself rereading them and realizing I'm not always sure what I could have done differently. I want to be prepared for the next level of study, but I'm not sure how to take my writing to that next step.
First of all, it's great that you're reflecting on your writing and noticing where you want to improve. That's the first step toward getting better. Writing at an advanced academic level is not just about expressing ideas. It's about organizing them clearly and making sure they're communicated effectively. But don't worry, we can definitely work on this together. Let's start by identifying what you think are your biggest challenges in writing right now.
I'd say my biggest problem is structuring my essays. I often have so many ideas, and when I'm writing, it feels like I'm jumping from one thought to another without a clear flow. Sometimes, I feel like I know what I'm trying to say, but I don't think it always comes across clearly on paper.
Essay structure is one of the most common challenges. It's easy to get caught up in the ideas themselves and forget about how they fit together. Strong academic writing at this level needs a logical flow, where one point leads naturally into the next. Have you tried outlining your essays before writing them?
I have, but I tend to just jot down a few ideas and then jump straight into the writing. I don't always stick to the outline.
That's a good start, but I think we can make your outlining process more effective. A strong outline should be the backbone of your essay. It's like a roadmap that guides you through the writing process. When you have a well-structured outline, it's easier to stay focused and make sure your points connect logically. Would you be open to practicing a more detailed outlining method?
Definitely. I think having a better roadmap would help me a lot. How should I go about creating a more detailed outline?
Great! Let's break it down step by step. Start with your thesis statement. This is the core of your argument, so it should be clear and concise. Once you have a strong thesis, think about the main points that support your argument. These will be your body paragraphs. Each paragraph should focus on one main idea. You can then list evidence or examples that back up each point. After that, think about how you'll transition between your points to keep the flow smooth. By the time you start writing, your outline should feel like a blueprint for the entire essay.
That makes a lot of sense. I think I've been too eager to get to the writing part without spending enough time planning out my ideas. I like the idea of thinking through the transitions between points in advance. I always struggle with that when I'm writing.
Exactly. Transitions are crucial for guiding your reader through your argument. If you plan them in your outline, you'll find that your writing flows much more naturally. And speaking of planning, another thing to consider is how you manage your time during the writing process. Are you giving yourself enough time for revision?
Not really. I tend to focus so much on getting the draft done that by the time I'm finished, I'm too exhausted to revise properly. I usually just skim through it to check for grammar mistakes.
That's understandable, but revision is where the magic happens. Writing isn't just about getting words on paper. It's about refining those words until they express your ideas as clearly and powerfully as possible. I'd recommend setting aside dedicated time for revision, separate from when you write your first draft. When you revise with fresh eyes, you'll be more likely to spot areas where your argument could be stronger or where the flow isn't quite right.
That's true. I've noticed that when I go back to my essays after a few days, I can see problems I missed when I was first writing them. But sometimes I'm not sure how to approach revision. What should I be looking for?
Good question. When you're revising, you want to focus on both the big picture and the finer details. Start with the overall structure. Does your argument make sense? Are your points in the right order? Is there a clear introduction, body, and conclusion? Once you're satisfied with the structure, move on to clarity and precision. Are your sentences clear and concise? Are you avoiding repetition and filler words? Finally, you can focus on proofreading for grammar, punctuation, and formatting issues. Does that approach sound manageable?
Yes, it does. I think I've been trying to tackle everything at once during revision, which makes it feel overwhelming. Breaking it down into stages will definitely help.
Exactly. Revising in stages allows you to focus your attention on one aspect of your writing at a time, making the process more manageable and effective. And remember, don't hesitate to ask for feedback from peers or instructors during the revision process. Sometimes a second set of eyes can catch things that you might have missed.
That's a good point. I've been a little hesitant to ask for feedback because I feel like my work isn't good enough to show to others before I've fixed everything. But I guess getting feedback early on could actually help me improve faster.
Absolutely. Seeking feedback is one of the best ways to grow as a writer. You don't need to wait until your essay is perfect to get input. In fact, getting feedback during the writing process, whether it's on your outline, a draft, or even just your thesis, can help you avoid problems before they become harder to fix later on. Peer reviews can also give you a new perspective on your work.
I see what you mean. It makes sense to get feedback early, especially if it can help me avoid making bigger structural mistakes later on. I'll try reaching out to classmates more for peer reviews. But what about improving my actual writing style? I've noticed that my writing can be a bit clunky at times, and I struggle with finding the right words to express complex ideas.
That's a great question. At this level, writing style becomes more important, especially when you're dealing with complex academic topics. One key to improving your style is to focus on clarity. It's easy to fall into the trap of using complicated language because we think it makes us sound more academic, but in reality, clarity is much more effective. You want your readers to understand your ideas without having to reread your sentences multiple times. Try to avoid overly complex sentence structures and focus on making your point as clearly as possible.
I think that's something I've been guilty of, trying to sound too academic and ending up with sentences that are hard to follow. How can I work on making my writing clearer?
One of the best ways to improve clarity is to simplify your sentence structure. Use shorter sentences where possible and focus on one idea per sentence. You can also try reading your work out loud during the revision process. When you hear your sentences spoken, it's easier to catch awkward phrasing or overly complicated structures. Another technique is to avoid using too many abstract or vague terms. Be specific in your language.
I like the idea of reading my work out loud. I've done that a couple of times and noticed it helps, but I haven't made it a habit. I'll start doing that more regularly. Do you think there are any particular resources or exercises that could help me develop my style further?
Absolutely. There are several ways you can work on refining your style. One of the best things you can do is to read widely, especially in the field you're studying. Pay attention to how academic writers structure their arguments. Use transitions and vary their sentence structure. You can also try imitating their style in small writing exercises. Another effective exercise is rewriting parts of your own essays. Take a paragraph and challenge yourself to express the same idea in a simpler or clearer way. It's a great way to practice making your writing more precise.
That's a good idea. I haven't thought about rewriting my own paragraphs as a way to practice. I can see how it would help me get better at simplifying complex ideas. I'll definitely try that.
It's an excellent way to build your skills. And speaking of building skills, have you considered expanding your vocabulary in a targeted way? Sometimes part of improving your writing style is learning how to use the right words for the right context. But it's not just about using more advanced words, it's about using them effectively.
So I've been trying to improve my vocabulary, but I'm not sure how to go about it in a more focused way. I don't want to just memorize random words. How can I expand my vocabulary in a way that will actually help my writing? Thank you, Professor. I feel like I have a clearer plan now for how to improve. I'll start with more detailed outlines, set aside time for proper revision, and work on simplifying my writing style. And I'll definitely start that vocabulary journal. I really appreciate all your advice.
You're very welcome, Emma. I'm confident that with the strategies we've discussed, you'll see significant improvement in your writing. Remember, it's a process, and every bit of progress counts. I'm here if you ever want to go over drafts or need more guidance.